how do I implement change? And that's what post-AltAccountant looks like. What does the next 3 months, 6 months, year look like in implementing all this change? So number one, the most important tool, single most important tool for implementing change is transform your language. Number two, make time. Make time to think, innovate, and test. Failure will teach you. Communicate your plans publicly, really important tool. And I'll explain why in a second. Create a co-mentorship group, an accountability group to have others with you in this journey. And lastly, never forget that the road to effectiveness is often inefficient. Do not let efficiency get in the way to where you want to go. So let's break this down. Transforming your language. So instead of saying having time, I don't have the time, just say, I will make time, or I haven't made time. You can always make time. Instead of saying risky, say innovative, okay? That's not a risky approach, it's an innovative approach. Think of risk as the path to innovation. Instead of saying complicated, say comprehensive. When your customers ask you a question, can you do this? Can this be done? Instead of saying it's complicated, that's giving the customer lack of confidence that you can do it. Just say it's going to be a comprehensive job. Instead of saying client, say customer. Now, this one gets me in trouble each time I say it. I've said it before. The reason why customer is better than client is because we take clients for granted, or clients are part of our portfolio. We earn our customers. And when you have a new customer, you have to earn their loyalty every single year. The relationship is up for grabs. We want to have a customer forever, but we also need to earn a customer forever. And it doesn't stop. You're always earning your customer's trust through innovation, through new services, whatever happens to be. Instead of saying service, say solution or transformation. Instead of saying rate, say price. When people tell you what's your rate, the answer is, I don't have one. And they come back and say, well, how do you price? I say, I'll give you a price. That's it. Well, how would you give me a price? I will understand what you want, and then I'll give you a price. Okay? Take the word rate, hourly rate, that needs to be completely taken off your language. Instead of saying consultation, say assessment. Instead of saying quality, we provide quality, say results. Instead of saying bad idea, especially when somebody comes back to you, you have an idea, says that's a bad idea, just think that's just a different angle. Bad ideas are different angles. Instead of saying something takes time, or think about takes time, requires attention. When your customer says, can you do this for me? Don't say, yeah, that's going to take some time. No, that will require my full attention. What you're asking for will require my full attention. Let me think about it and let me price it. Okay, time is not something that we commercialize, we buy and sell. Clean books, right? Customers don't want clean books. They want to have a trusted financial platform. You don't clean books, you give your customers a financial platform they can trust. Data on the cloud, right? That even scares some people. Say available at your fingertips. Don't say QuickBooks is on the cloud. Just say, well, we'll make the reports in QuickBooks available at your fingertips. Instead of saying accurate reports like everybody does, say decision support tools. Instead of delegate, say multiply your capacity. Instead of cash flow, geez, I hate that word sometimes because it's just misused so many times. I say purchasing power, okay? I will help you have purchasing power to buy inventory at less price because you have the money to do it. I'll give you purchasing power to be able to, buy things quicker, right? Purchasing power, not cash flow. Instead of time capacity, think of emotional capacity, right? Ron Baker said this in a conference, and I think it was just brilliant. He said, how many of you have you had a customer that is the first customer you talk to in the morning at 9 a.m., you hang up 50 minutes later, and you're done for the day, right? You're emotionally drained for the whole day. Time capacity doesn't calculate for your capacity to be effective emotionally. So your customers take emotional capacity. Don't worry about the time that they take. Instead of saying increase profits, like everybody says we increase your profits, take a vacation. right? The results, the outcome from the increased profits. I know I say that a lot, but it's my mantra, so I have to keep repeating it. Instead of failure, learning experience. Instead of training, education, right? Training costs money. Education is an investment. Instead of cost, investment. Instead of tracking time, planning for capacity. And efficiency, that word needs to be removed from our language. The only thing that matters is effectiveness. Efficiency doesn't matter if you're ineffective. So the second point on implementing change was make time. And the simplest way to say is schedule it. Schedule a meeting with yourself to innovate, to think, a meeting with your team, a meeting with your partner, a meeting with your accountability group. Schedule it. That's the only thing you have to do. It is not that difficult. People say, I don't have time. Well, you didn't make it. All you have to do is schedule it. That's simple. Communicate your plans publicly. You're twice as likely to do something if you say it, comes out of your word, out of your mouth, that you're going to do it. And somebody else hears you. And when you make it public, people will ask you for an update. They say, how's that project going? And they'll remind you, and they'll remind you, and they'll remind you that you have to follow through. Communicating it publicly is the most important thing you can do to have the world hold you accountable for that plan. Creating a co-mentorship group. I think the easiest thing is just meet with a colleague at least once a month, in my opinion, to discuss your progress and hold each other accountable, right? Next month, what will you have ready? Next month, what I would like to see. Just like the way AltAccountant worked, right? Every week you were held accountable for your project. It needs to be the same way. And 2 people is enough. It doesn't have to be a big group. But ideally, I would say between 3 or 4 is the best, especially because you can role play. To me, one of the most valuable learning tools out there is the customer advisor observer role play. I've done this for years. I used to work for Best Buy and I used to train salespeople in the floor. I've seen Kirk do it in live conferences. I've seen my favorite trainers do this. I would say there really isn't a better learning experience. People walk away from any conference, any meeting, where they actually go through the role play and they put in the shoes of the customer, the observer, and the advisor. And lastly, be effective. Do not sacrifice a great future for an efficient present. I got to tell you, I think that the single most important thing that holds us back is the obsession that accountants have to be efficient. It is the top reason. It is that concept that we have to be efficient that holds us back from the future we want. Because the road to effectiveness, right, is always inefficient. Strive to be effective, even at the cost or the risk of being inefficient. So what is an AltAccountant? If somebody were to ask you, what is an AltAccountant? And they say, what is it? You can answer in 5 simple, let's call it manifestos. We're uniquely positioned to help our target customers. We're uniquely positioned to help our target customers. Uniquely positioned means you did a whole bunch to prepare yourself to be there and solve their problems. We understand why. That's what we do. We understand why. We cannot solve your problem if we don't know the root cause of it, why it's important and why it matters. We price below the value that we provide, and we give our customers choices. Like I said, including the choice to not work with us. We share our knowledge, but we charge for our expertise. I'm the living embodiment of this concept. If you follow me in social media and YouTube, you know this is what I do. I share my knowledge, but I always charge for my expertise. When the knowledge needs to be adapted to their case, that requires expertise. We can always talk about knowledge, but expertise requires thinking, requires experience, and requires customization and attention. Always charge for expertise. And we innovate only because we want to be effective. We don't innovate for efficiency. We innovate for effectiveness.